Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you for the opportunity to be here to be able to look into your word and look for the wisdom that you have for us. And we ask that you would help us to have our minds open and our hearts open, that we would hear the message that you would have for each one of us, and that we would grow closer to you because of it. We thank you. And it's in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Does anyone here have any problems in their life? No? Okay. All right, on the low. Okay, cool. Anybody have any stress in their life? Anybody ever experience any stress? Any problems with health, family, job, finances, marriage, children, school, or anything? And how do we handle these problems? How do we handle these situations? And how do we get through them? How do we deal with stress? Stress is such a huge, huge part of our lives anymore. Everything is go, go, go fast. Having to live up to the standard of whatever they're throwing on TV or what's on the internet. We have to be having the next thing. As soon as you buy something, 2 months later it's outdated and you got another one coming in. But I gotta have that one. And if you don't have that one, you're behind. You're still back in the 20th century. But the stress and trying to keep up with things, it causes not just the mental, not the emotional issues, but it can cause physical problems, cause lack of sleep. That stress leads to any other types of physical issues, ulcers, on and on. But there's always going to be, and there always has been, trouble in our lives to some degree forever. Ever since there's been people, there's been stress. But the key is, how do we handle the stress? How do we handle when these times come up and when these issues happen? Actually, when I came in today, I was hit with stress as soon as I came in the door. So I had to stop, go read your notes quickly. So when it was said of Martin Luther that whenever he thought there was a hint of any stress or any problems coming into his life, that he would recite and he would study and look at the 46th Psalm. And that was kind of his thing, that he held on to that 46th Psalm to help him deal with the problems and the stress and the things that came into his life. And that psalm led him to write the hymn, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God." And what I'm going to do is just touch on the 46th Psalm, go through it, and see if we can find some of the peace that Martin Luther found in studying this psalm. I'm trying to, when I just started just looking at this, start off with who wrote it, who wrote the psalm, and right off the bat found a conflict in that. Charles Spurgeon feels that David wrote it, and he had his beliefs in the way that the psalm was written, and he felt that David was. Another commentator said that they felt that Moses wrote the psalm after the Hebrews had crossed the Red Sea and were safely on the other side that Moses had written this. Warren Wordby says that he feels that Hezekiah would be the author. But regardless of who wrote the psalm, any of these men, you could take it and know that they had tough things that they had to go through. They had stressful situations that they had to deal with. And their decisions would affect thousands of people's lives, not just their own or just their own family core. So I'm going to follow Worsby with the Hezekiah path because actually I had more information that way. But it does seem to mirror some of the stories that go with Hezekiah. The story that follows Hezekiah goes through 2nd Chronicles, it's in 2nd Kings, and also in Isaiah. So I'm going to take all three of those and kind of cram them into one story. Now it starts off, the Assyrian king had attacked the fortified cities of Judah and was already taking them over and was moving towards Jerusalem. And this is where Hezekiah was at with what was of his army. He didn't have his full army. A lot of his other that he would have called for had already been taken over. As the Assyrian king got closer, they sent messengers out ahead to try to put fear in the hearts of the people that were in the city. They told them they were going to be killed. If they came out to fight, they'd be killed. If they stayed in the city, we were just going to block off everything going in and out of the city, and you were either going to run out of water or you were going to starve to death because we were just going to sit out here. So it was your choice: come out and fight and die, or stay inside and die. They sent messages insulting God and insulting the Israeli people and the Jews. This is somewhat similar to what Goliath did with the Philistines, insulting God and the Jews at the same time. Now, some of the elders that were there with Hezekiah felt we should go and call to Egypt, which they had done in the past. When they've gotten into problems, they would call on Egypt for help. But calling on Egypt was not going to be a free call. And we'll touch on that, I'll get into that a little bit later. But Hezekiah came out to what he had of his army, and he told them, we're outnumbered. The Assyrian army had 185,000 soldiers. We're outnumbered, but we have what they do not. We have the Lord our God on our side and with us as we battle. Now, the 46th Psalm, starting in the first, and this is broken into 3 sections. In the first verse, it says, God is our refuge and our strength. He is an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. Now, in the face of the trouble, in the face of the situation that they were being set up, they were a small army. It doesn't exactly say how many men Hezekiah had with him, but we do know that the Assyrian army was 185,000 men, which was not going to be an easy fight at any rate for them to come out and fight against. Now, the second section of this psalm says, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells, and he is with them in their city. God is within her, she will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. He's telling them he is there with them. He's there in their city. There can be peace. Regardless of what's going on outside, there can be peace within these walls because the Lord our God, he dwells with us. He's within us. At this point, Hezekiah and Isaiah, who was the prophet at the time, they went and they prayed. And they prayed. It doesn't specify how long they prayed or what their prayer was, but we know that after they prayed, that the Lord sent an angel and he killed all 185,000 men with one swing. They were left laying. All of their weapons were broken and burned. It wasn't like they were burnt and gone. There was just dust and ashes out there, or they were just gone. They were all killed, and they just fell where they were at. This is a reminder, not only to the Jews, but any other nation, saying, this is what the Lord has done. He took them out. They was there. Here's what you have to face when you come up against the Lord. Now, the third section of the psalm says, come and see the works of the Lord, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. He's making 4 promises there. He's telling them, I know that I am God. He's telling them, actually making that statement. I am God. I will be exalted in the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And I am with you. Setting up, just telling them, be still. And this is kind of the core of where I'm going to go. Be still. Just keeping that in mind as we go through this. So thinking about that and what we saw, how they were handling the situation, how do we handle our own problems? How do we handle the situations that we get into? We can ignore our situations. We can deny that they even exist. which actually ignoring and denying our problems is pretty common. I mean, it's easy just to keep going on, just don't do anything with it, just let it fester and let it fester. And that tends to just make situations worse. Even though we may ignore it, even though we may deny it, we know it within our heart, we know it in the back of our mind, whatever that problem is, it's there, and it just eats at us, it gnaws. Running away from our problems never works. I've known people that I've worked with people before, and they said, well, I'm just going to leave, I'm moving out of the port, I'm going to go, and I'm going to start over, everything's going to be perfect. And it's one of those situations where no matter where you go, no matter where you run, there you are. Because when you try to run away from your problems, generally, you're the problem. And you're just going to take them with you, and you're just going to start over with a whole same set of problems, just with different people. We can try to rationalize it. Oh, well, this had to happen because of this, or this is the way this has happened. Or, just trying to do anything like this is why it's supposed to happen. My favorite one, blame someone else. Have you ever known anybody that's never, ever done anything wrong in their entire life? That's never made a wrong decision, never had anything bad happen because of their own fault, because it's something that you did? Now, this is the only reason I'm having problems in my life, is because you just did. Or if these people hadn't done these things, my life would be fine right now, but they're the ones that caused my issues. Or the turnaround on that one is, oh, it is my fault because I trusted you. I've heard that before. But blaming someone else, just a cop-out from our own situation. Pray to have it taken away, which really doesn't solve anything. 5 out of 6 of these things make it worse, and the 6th doesn't solve anything. These are worldly ways to put things off. It just keeps pushing the problem out, pushing it out farther. And then when we do finally have to deal with it, that's when it's worse. That's when it's at its worst, is when it's about to explode. In Proverbs 14, it says, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end leads to death. Even if this is dealing with sin, if we have sin in our lives and we're not going to deal with it, if we're going to go through any of these things, rationalizing, ignoring it, sin will definitely lead us to a path of death. Even though we might think, well, we're just putting it off. If we don't ignore it, that means if we ignore things, that means God doesn't see it either, or nobody else does either. But we have to know that in our lives, everybody is going to have a certain amount of conflict. Pretty much all the time. Whether it's a lot or just a little bit, there's always going to be something, some decisions that we have to make, things that we have to look at each and every day. And it's these conflicts, these situations, and the problems that come up, that's what is there to make us more like Christ. How we handle it is going to either make us less like Christ or more like Christ. It's going to drive us towards the world, or it's going to drive us closer to God. You ever tried to fix a situation, or ever been in a situation where you tried to fix it, and you made it worse? You try to set up circumstances, or like, well, this is just, I can just get this to happen, then this will happen, and then everything will be good. Get that chain reaction thing going with other people, and like, okay, this happens, then I can just step back and everything's fine. But that's just a temporary fix, even if it works at all. And the more we try to do things like this, the more when we try to do it in our own power, the more stressed we get. And with the more stress we get, it starts to steal our joy. It will definitely steal our peace, because this is always going to be in the back of our mind. It's always going to be there until it's actually dealt with. And jumping back a little bit into Hezekiah, where the elders wanted to go to Egypt for help. You're not going to go to Pharaoh and say, hey, we need help, and he's just going to say, all right, we're right there. It was going to cost them something to go back to Egypt and ask for help from Pharaoh. And this is a situation of going to the world to solve a problem that we need an answer from God from. Rather than going to God, rather than going to Jesus or praying about it, we're going to try our own way first. We're going to think in our own minds and using our own power and our own plan to fix our situation rather than going to God with it. And even if we pray, we say, well, we're praying about it, we're praying about it. We have to be careful about how we pray and what we're praying for. We need to pray for guidance. We need to pray for strength to endure a situation, wisdom. But ultimately, we have to know, even from the promise that's made in the Psalm, God will be exalted. It says, I will be exalted. He says it twice. So when we're praying for things, pray, God, please get me through this. Give me guidance to do this in a way that is pleasing to you. Help me to handle myself appropriately, that you might be glorified, and give me the strength to endure the situation while I'm in it. Not just, Lord, take it away from me. Because he's trying to do that whole time to make us like him. In 1 Samuel, David, at the time he's going up before Goliath, and it says, all those gathered here will know that it's not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's. God is there to fight for us. It's not how we handle it. It's not in our own plans. It's not how we can do things ourselves, not this physical, but when we're going to the Lord, that every battle that we face is a spiritual one ultimately. In our own strength, we're not able to handle these situations. We cannot handle the problems and situations that we get into in our own strength and our own power. Trying to do this, we become weak, you get tired, you just try to do these things all the time, trying to handle your situation by yourself, you just get tired. And it becomes more of a frantic situation. There can be fear, and as these things all build up together, the worry sets in. With worry, which is just a terrible thing, if you have worry, if you worry about things and you dwell on things, it'll tear you apart. It'll rip you up from the inside out. And you can be a total wreck, even though nobody knows it, nobody sees it. You can be sitting in church and be a complete wreck on the outside with a smile on your face. How's it going? Everything's great. Wonderful. Fine. Amen, brother. But inside, you're a complete wreck. When we have people around us in our congregation that can help us, that would pray with us, pray for us, but sometimes we try to handle it on ourselves and it just eats us alive. If we can humble ourselves in our time of pain, humble ourselves in the time of need, God does provide. He will provide. We look at Paul in 2 Corinthians. Paul prayed. He prayed to just take it away. It says, to keep me from becoming conceited because of my surpassingly great revelations, there was given me a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. And 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away. That was his prayer. Just take this away. There wasn't a Lord, help me through this. There wasn't, Lord, I need strength to endure this situation. It's actually Paul saying this, Lord, take this away from me. But his answer essentially was no. God's answer was no. My grace is sufficient for you. And my power will be made perfect in weakness. So when we're in these situations, if we can surrender ourselves to God, look at, even as Paul was going through this, my grace is sufficient. When we can humble ourselves before God. Back to the 46th Psalm, first verse, God is our refuge and strength, ever-present help in our times of trouble. I'm thinking of the psalm where it says, be still and just know that I am God. In 2 Chronicles, Jehoshaphat, in a similar situation as Hezekiah was in, he was up against the Ammonite army, Moabites, that were coming upon him. In the 20th chapter, before they attacked, it says, but you will not even need to fight. They tell the soldiers, take your positions and stand. Line up like we're going to battle. It says, then stand still and watch the Lord's victory, for he is with you. Set up just like you're going to battle. Take all your stuff together, get out there, line up, we're going to battle. But when you get there, stand still, because the Lord's victory will be with you. It just tells them to stand still. You don't have to even do anything. get out there and stand there in obedience and let God take over from there. There's times all throughout Scripture where we're told to stop, stand still, stand back. And basically it's what it is, let God be God. Because when we try to take over his seat, there's only going to be problems. He is in control. And that goes throughout Scripture. God will say that I am God. I am the Lord Most High. I am in control of everything. If we try to take over God's spot, we'll be nothing but drowning in our own problems and our own failings. And there are three distinct sections in this psalm. We have God as our strength. He is our refuge at the beginning. He is our peace. He is our joy. He's with us in the second. In the third section, he is our God and will be exalted. As I went through this, and I read it in different translations, and for me, what always kept sticking out was the 10th verse, be still and know that I am God. Just be still. Because when I get into situations where it's stressed, it becomes more frantic to me. Inside, my brain just like 100 miles an hour. I get to the situations where I can't sleep, and I have these other situations. I've been through this before, and just thinking about this verse, be still. Just be calm. Just know that I'm with you. Know that I am God. And as I was reading this, it reminds me of watching children. Anybody's ever had to watch multiple children? And this isn't just watching my own kids when they were small, but now grandchildren. And having 3 little girls that are all pretty mobile now. It can turn into a nut house pretty quickly. It's while you get out of this, wait, where's the other one at? You stay out of that thing. And while you're grabbing this one, the other 2 are doing something. But it can be really frantic, really quick. And sometimes you just have to scale that down. Like, everybody, take it down a notch. And recently we had all three girls. And with all the storms that we've had, a lot of thunder, the middle granddaughter, Felicity, 18 months or so, hates thunder. Hates it. So wherever she's at, she can be, if thunder goes off, you're going to know where she's at. Because all you're going to hear is, you're going to hear the boom of the thunder, then you're going to hear a scream, and then you're going to hear feet. And she doesn't know which way she's running, but she's going to grab onto the first big person that she can find. And when she comes running, you have to grab onto her. You just have to hold her. A lot of times you have to sit down and just grab her up. And she'll sit there, and her eyes are like this big. And she'll just wait, until she sees it's okay. And whether they're scared or whether they're just going crazy, sometimes you just have to grab onto them and just hold them and just calm them down. Just get them to hold on to them to that point where they catch their breath and they realize that everything's good, everything's fine, and you can let go of them. That's what the Father wants to do with us when we're in our problems. Running frantically, trying to figure out our own situation. Just wants to hold us and just say, be still, be calm, take that breath. I'm God. I'm with you. I'm your Father. I've got everything figured out. I will take care of it. I found this quote on the internet, probably on Facebook. I wasn't able to find an author for it. But when I read it, it's been a few months ago, and I have this actually stuck on my desk at work, and it helps sometimes when there are some issues at work. I deal with the public a lot, so if you find yourself a bit irritated or overwhelmed, it's a sign that you're spending less time with God and more time with this world. If we're trying to seek our issues, solutions to our issues in the world, in our own thoughts, in our own plans, we're going to fail. It's going to be frantic. It's going to be hectic. We're going to be stressed, and we're eventually going to be physically sick on top of it. We need to be able to look outside of ourselves, know that His grace is sufficient, so told Paul. And just take that step back, take that breath. Just be still. And know that He's God. As we come into the time of communion, sometimes we need that reminder that He is God. Reminder of what He's done for us, the sacrifice that proven himself through the sacrifice that he gave for us. He's done this for us already. He gave his son. And he's willing to give us everything else that he has. So this time when we take communion, maybe we need to remember that. Remember him as the sacrifice that he gave, and just know that he's in control of everything. Let's pray. Father, we know and we thank you that you have control over everything and all that goes on. We thank you for the sacrifice